In this video, you're going to be taking a look at the Phase 2 Clone Trooper and Battle Droid Troop Builder pack for the Black Series 6-inch line. I mostly got this pack because I have yet up to this point to have any of the B1 Battle Droids in my collection, and I figured this would be a good opportunity to finally get one. And as far as I know, this Battle Droid here is just a straight repack of the one from 2019. I do recall seeing that at retail at the time, and that was when, at the same exact time, I got the Attack of the Clones Padme, but unfortunately I passed up on it at the time, and I kind of wish I didn't, but you know, 5 years later, it's finally in my collection. And also, I don't really have any plain Clone Troopers in the Black Series, so this would be another good opportunity at that. But I will say, after having this pack in hand, I'm a little disappointed by it, and I'll get into why that is here in a little bit. But first, we'll look at the package. So this set must have been planned before the Windows came back into the Black Series line. Not exactly sure what the reason is, but it is nice artwork here regardless. They have it based off the Clone Wars. I think Revenge of the Sith would have been better. That's alright. Phase 2 Clone Trooper and Battle Droid. It's a nicely sized box too. It's a lot smaller than you think it would be. Sometimes Hasbro for these 2 packs have outrageously large boxes for them. But this is the appropriate size, I think. It's very compact. In fact, I like this box so much I might end up keeping it. There's nice artwork on it. And of course, it has, in the inside, it just has the typical tissue paper that the figures are wrapped in. So we'll start with the Clone Trooper here. So I have to admit, I think this is between the 2 action figures, this one is probably where most of my disappointment is at, and that's because the plastic on this is extremely soft. This is probably the softest plastic I've ever had on a Star Wars action figure. I know you can't really tell on camera here when you're watching this, but man, just feeling this, the parts feel really gummy. It feels like if I articulate it wrong, everything's going to snap on me. Of course, it seems like over time Hasbro gets really cheap on the plastic. You look at the action figures from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and it seems like they're really hard and durable plastic, and you can really do a lot to them and they'll still be in robust condition. But these here, for the prices we're paying, the plastic on is just extremely cheap. I mean, the sculpting work is fine. It definitely looks like a Clone Trooper. The helmet could probably use a little work, and it does look a little off. Well, that's probably my biggest disappointment with this pack, is just how cheap it feels. And I paid, what was this, $45? $45, I would hope for a little bit better quality. But the body itself, I mean, the sculpting work is good. And that cheap plastic, it's prevalent through all the limbs here, really. Like I said, I think the helmet could use a little more work. They got the mouth there accurate. About as accurate as it can be, though. And it does have a removable helmet, which is kind of hard to take this helmet off this guy. And the head looks pretty good. It's very convincing to Morrison. It does have some scars on him as well, or at least I think they're supposed to be scars. Yeah, a couple there on his forehead. Looks pretty good. Yeah, you can kind of tell that the helmet there is a little misshapen. There's a nicely tight fit on his head there. He does have the butterfly joint in the shoulders. We'll get into the articulation in a little bit, but that is a unique thing about him that we don't really see on all the action figures. Other than that, he's just plain white all around. So we'll go ahead and do the articulation. He does have the ball joint at the head, and the hinge at the shoulders, and the shoulder armor there does have that flex to it, so you can be able to get in a much higher angle. It does have a hinge at the elbow there, and of course hinge wrists, joint at the torso, and hinge hips. He does have the swivel thigh, and hinge knees, and rocker ankles. And for his weapons and accessories, pretty standard. Just the two DC-15 rifles, a long rifle here, and the shorter carbine. Nothing really too new about that. But definitely, if you get a few of these guys in your collection, I would recommend being careful. I'm not sure if it's my sample. I have read other people expressing similar concerns that the plastic on this feels really cheap. So if you do happen to get a few of these guys in your collection, I would suggest being very careful. Unfortunately, he does stand well on his own. Then next is probably my favorite action figure of the two here, and one that I definitely have been wanting for a little while now, the B1 Battle Droid. And like I said, I'm pretty sure this is just a straight repack with a slight repaint of the original. And we have gotten a lot of B1 Battle Droids in the Black Series line over the last couple years. A lot from like Fallen Order and Battlefront 2 and things like that. We also did get the maroon colored one from Attack of the Clones. And I think these guys look really good. And they are probably to about as scaled as they can be. Taller than the Clone Trooper, which I think is accurate. The B1 Battle Droids are much bigger than like the TBC ones seem to represent. If you played the video game Republic Commando, you might know what I'm talking about, where the Battle Droids are definitely much bigger. And I think that's more appropriate. Makes them more intimidating, more menacing. So I think the sculpting work is pretty good. It's very durable. He does have a hard time standing on his own. I have had a few instances where he falls over. I think I got his stance about as stable as I can. But I think that's more because of his feet being smaller here and having a smaller footprint more than being top heavy or anything like that. But pretty standard. Of course, the backpack here. In terms of his articulation, he's probably the best articulated B1 Battle Droid we've gotten. He does have the joint at the head there. You can pretty much get him in all the poses that you want him in. He does have a little bit of flex in the back here as well. So that's pretty nice. I don't think we've ever seen that on a B1 Battle Droid before. His shoulders are more of a swivel. I'm not sure if that's technically like a hinge. Well, yeah, it is a hinge. But they seem to act more like a swivel. I would recommend being careful with his joints as well. His plastic feels a little more durable compared to the Clone Trooper. But still, you can see his limbs are very small, so be careful. Trying to see here if he has a... Yeah, he's got a swivel at the bicep there. Or at the very top of his bicep. He does have a hinged elbow, but it does only go one way. But that's okay because he has a swivel forearm there. That's not all. On top of that, he also has the wrist articulation, which is extremely helpful. Something that the TVC figure lacks, and it is kind of a hindrance for it. So for the first time in a while, you can actually get the B1 Battle Droid to hold the blaster with two hands. Very nice. Yeah, he kind of has a waist joint. It's not too bad. It's kind of a unique one though. He does have the hinged hips technically, and the hinged knees and the rocker ankles. So definitely the best articulated B1 battle droid we've ever gotten from Hasbro. It would be very nice to see this scaled down to 3 3/4 inch. I think this would be the definitive B1 battle droid if they did that. So for his accessories, pretty standard battle droid blaster. Not a whole lot I can say about it. It's all cast in black. Then his backpack is an accessory. And something interesting, I didn't discover this till just before I recorded the video. The antenna can go inside the backpack there, or it can go all the way up. And you can't take it off. Very interesting how they did that as well. It's not just a plug or anything like that. But you do have his alternative antenna. I would assume it goes in on this side, yeah. I think that's make them a commander or something like that. 100% sure. That's a nice addition. Personally, I'm going to be keeping this guy with a backpack at all times. And before we wrap up the video, I did want to get this guy in a crouching position, see exactly how he would look. I'm pretty confident we can get him in one. Yeah, look at that. Very nice. So overall, I'm very, well, let me put it this way. I'm happy I got this set because of the battle droid here. It's a figure I've needed in my Black Series collection for a while now, and he definitely fulfills everything I've ever wanted from a B1 battle droid. This might very well be the best one that Hasbro's ever produced, in my opinion. Of course, there's still lots of great 3 3/4 inch ones out there, but this guy, he's got the articulation, he's got the accessories, he's got the scale. So I think he's perfect in every way. If Hasbro can manage to scale this guy down, we would have the perfect 3 3/4 inch B1 battle droid. The clone here, the sculpting work is good for the most part, but his plastic is extremely soft, and I find that very disappointing. I would rather sacrifice a little bit of the looks and accuracy of the action figure to have a more durable plastic than to have something that's trying to look as accurate as possible and maybe the most articulated. But the plastic is just extremely soft on this. Hopefully over time it doesn't yellow at all, but we'll see. So I think the clone still has a little bit of work. But overall, I mean, he's going to be a guy that I have displayed in the background among my other clones, so he'll fulfill his purpose. So regardless, I'm still happy to have him in the collection. So would I recommend this set for your collection? Possibly. If you already have the B1 battle droid, or you already have this guy, I'm pretty sure he's just a straight repack of the more recent Phase 2 clone. There's really not a whole lot of newness for it. If you're trying to troop build these sets, they're very expensive. Like I said, I paid after tax and shipping and everything like $47 for this, which is outrageous. At most it should really be like $35, and even that I think is kind of pushing it. But I can understand. I mean, 2 action figures, $24.99 each typically nowadays. So yeah, pretty expensive. I imagine some people are going to go out and buy several of these, but you know, that adds up quick, and then the next thing you know, you're spending like $500 to $1,000 for a bunch of action figures. So I'm happy with just having the one in my collection. I don't plan on investing in any more. But If you want the set, then I would say go for it. But like I said, just be careful with some of the limbs. And then just note that the clone has some pretty soft plastic on him, at least for my sample. I know some others have had that problem as well. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There will always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate all your support, and check out some links in the description if you haven't done so already. As always, thanks for watching.